Hello, hello, and welcome to the Dr. Tumor Talk Show. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Dr. Tumor Talks on Tuesday live. I'm Dr. Catherine Toomer, family medicine and community health physician and metabolic weight care specialist. And that's why I talk a lot about weight loss. However, it's really about weight health. And in the process of getting yourself healthy, your weight tends to go where it goes. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to celebrate to lose weight. And the reason is how you eat your food determines what happens to that food after you've eaten it. Yes, we talk a lot about what we eat in terms of macros, carbs, uh, fat, and proteins. However, what happens in your body with food is largely dependent not only on what it is, but the hormones that are produced during the time that you're eating. I talk a lot about insulin and what insulin does. Insulin, when it's in high amounts, will actually take your food and make it into fat and stores it as fat. However, it is essential in helping to utilize what it is that we eat. And not to get too technical, but essentially, what insulin does is it opens up the cell so that all the breakdown of the food that you've eaten, the glucose from carbohydrates, the amino acids from protein, the fatty acids from fat that we eat, all goes into the cell. It goes into the cell and into what's called the powerhouse of the cell or the mitochondria. And what that does is that's the area of the cell that makes energy. It goes into, it's like sort of like this wheel of chemical reactions. And fat comes in one place, carbohydrates come, or glucose comes in another place, amino comes in another place. And what it does in the process is it spits out energy, or what we call ATP. And that's the energy that our body uses in order for everything else. And so when insulin is working properly, then that's what we get. We get lots of energy. When it's not working properly, we get very little energy. So that's why when insulin resistance occurs, we're often very tired, especially after eating, because what we eat does not get into the cells to give us energy. And instead, it goes into fat cells to get stored. But there's another hormone that I talk a lot about, carbohydrates. I'm sorry, uh, carbohydrates that I talk a lot about, and that is cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It is produced during stress. And when cortisol is high, insulin resistance is high. And when insulin resistance is high, fat production is also high. Cortisol is produced under stress. There are lots of situations that maybe we don't recognize as being stress inducing, even though we ourselves may not feel the stress, our body does. And one of the times that this happens is when we're rushing, when we're anxious, when we're feeling guilty in some kind of way, anxiety, depression. There's many emotional feelings that create cortisol. Even if we ourselves don't feel it, our body does feel it. And so the reason I say celebrate to lose weight, because when you stress while eating, I don't care how good of a meal it is, how healthy of a meal it is. When you're stressing while eating, your cortisol levels are high. And when your cortisol levels are high, your body will take whatever you've eaten and try to make fat out of it. And that's across the board. But when you celebrate, when you're relaxed, when you're enjoying every bite of what you're eating, no matter what it triggers your pleasure centers, your dopamine. And what dopamine does is it tells your body, take this. I don't need fat. Just take out the nutrients you need and we'll use it. And we'll use it for energy. And we'll use it for building blocks of our muscle. Or we'll use it for brain cells or any cells of the body. And so that's why I say celebrate to lose weight, because when you celebrate what you're eating, when you slow down and really enjoy yourself while eating something, your body changes what it does with the food that you've eaten. And this is the reason why when you go on vacation and you eat whatever you want, and for some reason you come back and you've lost weight, or your weight hasn't gone up even though you're eating very differently, it's because you're eating in a relaxed situation. And so it's really important to pay attention to how you're feeling at the time you're having food. And so, like I said, celebrate to lose weight. And before I continue, I'm just going to say hello to Marsha. Hello, Cindy. Thank you for coming. Um, and get your questions ready because I will be answering questions after this. This isn't going to be a very long one. And I'll basically tell you why, because this weekend I had my 60th anniversary, my 60th birthday celebration, and I'm still recovering a little bit. Um, being 60, you don't recover as quickly from being up late, from standing up, dancing, which is what happened. And as a result, um, I'm still recovering. I'm still a little tired, so I'm just trying to get through the days as best I can. But one thing that I did do is I celebrated and I enjoyed every single thing that I ate. I took time to enjoy it. So when you rush to eat, for example, it changes what you do with what happens to the exact same meal that you take your time and eat slowly. If you're angry with yourself for eating something, it changes what it does when you just don't care and you allow yourself to just simply enjoy what you're eating, no matter what it is. Now, there's some things that if you have glucose dysregulation, of course, if you eat things that are high in carbohydrates, high in sugar, your body's still going to try to make fat out of it, but it will make a whole lot more fat if you eat it in anger or guilt or anxiety, or as opposed to really enjoying it, allowing yourself to react positively to the experience. It's also why I say when you celebrate food, that means taking in its smell, taking in the taste, taking in the sounds around you, taking in all the beauty in which you're having your meal. It's one of the reasons why we enjoy eating in beautiful settings, because it changes how we feel about what we're eating. And when you change how you feel about what you're eating, it changes what happens with what you're eating. So yes, celebrate to lose weight, and that's not to say that you still have to watch portions, you still have to watch macros, your content. And so as usual, whatever carbohydrates you eat, make sure that there's twice as much protein and fat along with that carbohydrate. It really doesn't matter how much, it matters more the proportions, not so much the portion, if that makes sense. So, if you have questions, now would be a good time to ask them. This is going to be one that's short and sweet because it is. That's just what it is. I mean, there's nothing more to be said. It very succinct and it's very true. But if you have questions, now there are some things that will help with this, in that if you're someone who has difficulty slowing down, it's one of the reasons why I test for ADHD um, when evaluating someone for weight management. And the reason is ADHD tends to lend itself to rapid eating. And when you eat rapidly and you sort of quickly, it's not just the fact that your brain doesn't get the cues that you're eating, and so you tend to eat more. It's also that it's a rushing process, and that rushing tends to change what it is that happens. Now, there are a couple things that you can do about that. You can learn to manage that speed. It is something that's a skill that you have to slow down to do. There are different types of medications and treatments. There's therapy that can help. And then of course, anytime you have glucose dysregulation, there are GLP-1s to help and manage the body's reaction to how you're feeling at the time that you're eating. And so GLP-1s, what they do is they block the effect of cortisol on the process of food management, of food breakdown and food absorption. And so Mounjaro, Zepbound, or tirzepatide, the generic name, tend to be the ones that do the best work with that. And then the next best is semaglutide, or what's Ozempic, or Wegovy. And then, there are others down the road. But yeah, having high cortisol while eating for whatever reason, no matter what you're eating, is going to lend itself to fat production. And Eating slowly, enjoying your food, celebrating, eating in celebration is going to lend itself to dopamine production, which then will not lend itself to fat production. In fact, what it does is it tends to slow everything down so your body gets the nutrients out of the food. And now those nutrients also help as signals for the brain to let the brain know you've eaten. And so the brain will also send the correct signals to the rest of the body. You don't need to, no cravings. Appetite is corrected. Fat is not produced. And so that's why it is so important to really pay attention to when you eat, and how you're feeling when you eat. So if you have any questions, now's a good time to ask them. This is going to be something that's short and sweet. Um, and if you have questions for me later, you can write to me at help@drtumor.com, and I'm going to post this in the comments. Um, there is also a link on my website that if you'd like to get a strategy and plan consultation so that you can see what plan would work best for you. And it doesn't have to be for anyone who is overweight or has obesity. And the reason is weight gain is usually often an indication that there's some glucose dysregulation, no matter what your BMI is, no matter what your weight is. If your weight starts to go up, there's a biological, there's a psychological, and there's a social reason for this to happen. And having that evaluated and helping you make small little tweaks to prevent it getting worse or to prevent more of it happening is always a good time. Instead of waiting till there's a problem you have to reverse, it's much easier to prevent something from getting worse. And I didn't mean to rhyme, but I did. Um, and so if you go to my website, which is drtumor.com, you can find all the links that you need there, and you can contact me and we can go from there. Also, if you find this information helpful, please share it on your pages, share it on your social media pages, share it with family and friends, have them subscribe to my YouTube channel, have them follow me on Facebook. You can as well. If you're listening and you find what I'm saying helpful, then subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Facebook or follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. We can connect there as well. Hello, Makita. Thank you for joining in. We were just talking about how we eat and how we're feeling when we eat changes what happens to food in our body. So, are there any questions? And if you have questions later, like I said, you can write to me at help@drtumor.com, or you can actually write comments after the videos. If any of you have written, you know that I do respond to comments and questions on my videos. So you can always contact me there. Health at any cost. I just found you and am thrilled. I've gone from extremely ill to alive in 3 years on GLP-1s from 405 pounds at 5'1" to 125 pounds. Congratulations. A1C from 9 to 5. Wow. HFPEF gone and walking 7 to 8 miles a day. That is absolutely amazing. You should pat yourself on the back. Actually, you should pat yourself on the back and give yourself a huge hug. That is absolutely amazing. What this means is that your health is so improved. And so for people who say that, GLP-1s are cheating, this is a perfect example of how it's not. You cannot get those kind of results without there being something that's being treated. 1. 2, as you're treating, your behavior automatically changes because the very things that are keeping you from being motivated, that are keeping you from having the energy to do the things you need to do, are also the very things that make you gain weight and hold on to that weight and make it difficult to lose that weight. So once it's treated, the cause, the very, very cause of why your body takes very little calories and makes fat rather than fuel, once that's treated, suddenly all your other systems fall into place. And that includes your psychosocial systems. Everyone says, thinks that it's because of your behavior, your discipline is the reason that you're in a situation you're in. What you don't realize, it's the other way around. It's a metabolic condition that changes your behavior and changes how you're feeling and changes what your body does. And so this is a wonderful thing. That's very good. Very happy for you. Um, Dr. Yolanda Washington. Hello, Dr. Toomer. Very good information. Thank you so much. Yes, you have worked very hard, and that is obvious. There's no way you could get those results without working hard. But what the GLP-1 has done has made that work you've put in actually do what it's supposed to do. So often what happens when we have glucose dysregulation, our body's trying to take calories and make fat instead of taking fuel and giving it to our muscles. So when you're exercising, your muscles are competing against that process. So when you use treatment, suddenly it shifts everything to where it's supposed to be. So all your hard work actually gives you more bang for your buck, so to speak. So yeah, walking 7 to 8 miles a day is amazing. And it does take a lot of discipline and it takes willpower, which is easier when you don't have a process in your brain fighting against it. And so that is absolutely pre-GLP-1s, 8 to 10,000 calories a day, on GLP-1, 1,200 calories a day over 3 years. Yeah. And partly because before you were on a GLP-1, your brain was telling you to eat more. Because what was happening is the food you were eating was not giving the right signals to your brain. So your brain kept saying, eat more, eat more, eat more, eat more, eat more. And now that your brain's getting the signal, it makes it so much easier to actually combine, eat the amount of food that you actually need, which is about 1,200 calories a day, especially at 5'1". That is accurate. And you're still getting all the nutrients. So your brain's now getting all the signals. You have done an absolutely amazing and perfect job of taking charge of your health on all levels. I mean, that's like textbook for the perfect way of how you get healthy. You treat in the way you need to treat, and then you behave in the ways that you need to behave once that treatment has made it so that all those behaviors actually give you the results that you deserve. One more brag. I will write privately, only lost my muscle. Yes. And that's because you did it properly. If you exercise and you eat properly, eat enough protein, then yes, you will not lose muscle. There's this myth that if you use a GLP-1, you automatically lose muscle. That is not true. You only lose muscle if you don't eat enough protein and you don't do any muscle work. So when you eat enough protein and you do the muscle work and you're on a GLP-1, suddenly all the things you eat, your muscle gets all the building blocks that it needs. And so if you don't eat enough protein when you're losing weight, your body will go after muscle to replace the protein you're not eating. And so the only way to maintain your muscle is to eat properly. Health at any cost, because I don't know your name otherwise. You have really just written a textbook of exactly what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. And no one says it's easy. It is not easy. It is still work. It's just that a GLP-1 makes it easier. It does not make it easy. You still have to put in the work. And this is a perfect example of how that work gives you more bang for your buck when the underlying cause is being addressed. EA says, and just well done, well done. Please explain the difference between a regular craving and insulin resistance craving, if there is one. There isn't. Usually cravings are called, now there are two types. That's not true, actually. There are two types. There are cravings that you get because your body needs a particular nutrient, and so, or it needs water. So it'll make you crave things that will replace what your body needs. So you may crave, if you need vitamin C, your body may have you craving fruit. If you need water, it might have you craving watery fruit or watery foods, like melons and that sort of thing. If you are under a lot of stress and your body's being depleted of vitamin B, it might have you crave things that have a lot of vitamin B in it, or D. If you're your immune system is being disrupted, and you have low vitamin D, there'll be foods that you'll start craving. If you're low in vitamin A, it would be carrots. If it just there are those cravings that are to replace the things that your body needs and feels like it doesn't have enough of. But then if you have carbohydrate cravings for food in general, especially carbohydrates, that is insulin resistance. And that insulin resistance can be caused by many reasons. One can be menopause, it can be chronic stress, it can be polycystic ovary syndrome, it can be from steroid use, it can be from low testosterone, change in hormones. I said menopause, but in men, it's a low testosterone can do the same thing. So yeah, insulin resistance cravings tend to be sugary and carb salty foods, and all the other things that cravings usually are because your body needs something and it makes you want to eat it to replace what it thinks you need. Usually when it comes to vitamin or mineral deficiency that your body makes you crave, it usually makes you crave healthier foods. Fruits and vegetables are used because that's where you get them. But when it's carbohydrates and salty carbohydrates or sugary carbohydrates, then usually that's insulin resistance for whatever reason. I need info on gaining weight. Okay. When you want to gain weight, you want to make sure that it's done in a healthy way. The way you gain weight is actually by making your body want food. And the best way to gain weight is through muscle. When you do muscle work, your body automatically increases its energy use. And when it increases its energy use, it immediately wants you to eat more calories. And so if you need to gain weight, you don't want to gain it in a way where you're also gaining cholesterol and you're gaining fat. You want to gain it in the form of muscle. Now, if you have your fat percentage is too low, yes, you want to gain some in fat, and the way you do that is by eating very caloric dense foods. So small amounts gives you a lot of calories, and that's how you gain weight. But the more protein, usually the better. And it can be plant-based proteins. It doesn't have to be animal-based proteins. And then adding calories in the form of healthy fats like avocados, adding a little bit of coconut oil to stews, for example, will help. Eating small meals throughout the day so that you can keep your caloric intake up, but not eating them in large portions. When you eat meals in large portions, your blood sugar tends to go up and you gain that weight in fat. When you eat it in small portions throughout the day, particularly if it's protein forward, what happens is you'll gain the weight, but it'll be in the form of muscle, not in the form of fat. You don't want to gain it in fat unless you absolutely need the fat. So that's how you gain weight. If there's an appetite issue and you're on medication that suppresses your appetite, then often what you'll need to do is cut back on that medication. If you're on medication that is absolutely essential and it causes like nausea or just makes it difficult for you to want to eat, then you treat the symptom that's keeping you from eating. And that's how you gain weight. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. Are there any other questions? And thank you, Barb. It's very nice to meet you. And well done. That is so impressive what you've done. Extremely impressive. Especially since, and this is something I just want to talk on because you said you went from 450 to 125. There's a huge psychological shift that has to happen in order for that weight loss, not only for it to happen, but also to maintain it. I don't think that people often give enough credit to the amount of fortitude it takes in order to psychologically go along and make those shifts. And so it's not just that you're healthy physically, or that you're healthy physiologically. It's also that you're healthy psychologically. You allowed your psychological health to improve along with your physical health. And that is huge. And that should be commended and that should be commented on because it's not easy. That's often the hardest part of losing weight. The because when you treat the underlying cause, your body's going to take care of itself. It's not sabotaging yourself because you start seeing yourself as looking different or feeling different. It's not letting the naysayers kind of get into your head. It's not letting people tell you, oh my gosh, the people who are used to seeing you a certain way, who start making little, backhanded compliments. That is something that really, truly needs you to give yourself a hug and a pat on the back, because that is often the most difficult part of a significant weight loss process. As someone who's lost over 100 pounds, I'm 5 foot tall, I'm a little bit shorter. I didn't have as much weight to lose, but I understand on a lesser level what it is that it takes, the amount of psychological strength and bravery in order to do what you've done is really quite commendable. And I just want to say that you should really, really be proud of yourself. And don't beat yourself up if some of it starts to reverse a little bit here and there. Basically, weight loss is sort of like this. And so there are going to be times when you may go up. And depending on your age, menopause you may have to do things differently as you get older, just so that you can maintain it. Just because as your hormones start to shift, the things that your body needs in order to maintain that weight loss is going to change. And so just be aware, it's not all your behavior could be exactly the same, but your hormone changes can make everything different. So when that happens, don't beat yourself up, don't blame yourself, just get to the cause. And well, there you go. You've been in maintenance since mid-December 2024 and you're 64 years old. Absolutely fabulous. Oh my God, I'm just more impressed by every time you comment, to be honest. So that is so impressive. Well done. Just very, very well done. Dr. Matthews, thank you for continuing to educate on the very hot topic. Thank you, Dr. Matthews, for always chiming in and giving me lots of encouragement and giving me my props when they're due. So, or when yeah. No, that's just, I'm just still reacting to Barb because I'm just really, not to get emotional, but I absolutely know how hard that is. And so I just am so impressed. And I'm a crier. I tend to be, well, I'm not so much a crier as I am a eye-watery person when I get, emotional. And this has also been a very emotional week for me because, at 60 years old, um, I didn't know I was going to make it to 60. There was a time when my health was at a place where I was not sure I was going to be here. And so when I hear stories like yours, Barb, at 64 and you're doing what you've done, I mean, you just extended your life in a way, and not even just extended the time, but the quality. And that's really what matters. Being able to move around, enjoy people around you, enjoy the world around you, and keeping yourself safe, psychologically safe, physically safe. I'm just so impressed. I'm gonna stop, but I'm just so incredibly impressed. So incredibly impressed. Sherry said it's very impressive, and that's very encouraging. It's extremely encouraging. Yeah, and that's the other thing. People act like because after you're a certain age, you can't do it. It's too hard. You can No, that's not true. It's never easy, but there are ways of making it easier if you have the guidance, guidance. So whoever helped you, Barb, is really, you should also thank them because yourself as well. But clearly you have some good guidance. And because that is not an easy task to do, and especially not on your own. Um, Oh, wow. You said during COVID you had DNR over your bed. I will email you. Okay, please do because your story is amazing. I would love to talk to you some other time. And just so you guys know, again, share this with people who you find it may be helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share in, or you can follow me on Facebook. Email me at Dr. Toomer. I'm sorry, help at drtoomer.com. You can also make consultation appointments with me through drtoomer.com. And And so these type of stories are very, very encouraging because it dispels the myths and the lies that we're told. So Sherry says, at 49, and my weight loss journey has been a source of inspiration to younger staff members. And it should be good. Tanya said, thank you for sharing with us. I really appreciate you. And I don't know if that was to me or to Barbara, but either way, you're welcome. Because this is a wonderful, wonderful story. And I will be doing a podcast at some point. So Barbie will be hearing from me. So please write to me so I have a way of contacting you. She said, Dr. Toomer, your discussions are filled with great information and compassion. Well, thank you. And I can't forget where I came from. I know the feeling. I talk a lot from not just from expertise and education, but also from personal experience. And it's a it's it's really quite a blessing to have all those components come together and being able to share them in a way that people can actually use the information. It doesn't make sense to have it all and not share it. And so, or share it in a way that people can use it. And so the fact that you all are here and listening, I really do appreciate it. And I do not take it for granted. Hello, Adolph, Randolph. Um, so if there are no more questions or comments, like I said, if you think of things later, just contact me. I'll answer. And like I said, and if you write it after the video, then it helps other people if you have questions. But if you prefer to be anonymous, I understand, and you can just write to me privately. All right. Well, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you next Tuesday for Dr. Toomer for the Dr. Toomer Talk Show. Good night.